quickly. Settle down.
The purpose of terrorism is to make people terrified. It works. How does the idea come into your head to actually go to Syria to join ISIS?
I was just tired of seeing the world burn and sit back and just keep on living my luxurious life where everyone around you is suffering.
So there's a feeling of guilt of why aren't you doing something about it?
Exactly.
And you feel to yourself...
I'm an able, capable man. I could help fight.
So now this is where you decide, okay, ISIS is this group. Because in the beginning, it was claiming to be
a righteous group. They were brutal too, but they needed that brutality to face a more brutal force, Bashar al-Assad. I'd see them as like a group that are able to free them from this oppression.
So you ended up with Daesh, ISIS in Syria. What did you do there?
I joined the police force. And what we do is just patrol the streets, you know, enforce Sharia law in every aspect of life. During training, they were demonstrating beheadings, different ways to carry out punishments and execute.
And you saw this in front of you?
And I saw this in front of me, and they did it as if they were practicing on like a CPR dummy or something like that, you know? And these were real people they were practicing on.
But at what point do you realize, I need out?
When I'd be out patrolling the streets, I would see myself as the same thing the Syrian Arab Army is doing to the people. I'd see myself not as a savior, but as an oppressor. And after that was the killing. It started playing on my feelings, and I actually started feeling sick from it, nauseous from it, like physically sick from it, you know?
Which is very normal.
The smell of it, the sight of it even, like, you know?
So, should Canada be worried about you? Are you a threat?
I think that they should consider me as someone who did make a mistake, someone who was young and adventurous. I didn't go out for the sake of planning or conspiring against Canada. I went purely for the reason that I wanted to do something for the world.
Joining me now, former jihadist and ex-counter-terrorist operative, Mubin Shaikh.
This is a rare opportunity for us. Mubin Shaikh is a former agent with Canadian Security Intelligence Service.
Mubin Shaikh is a former CSIS operative. He was intimately involved in the takedown of the Toronto 18.
I'm a former extremist turned undercover counterterrorism operative. Infiltrated many groups, but the last one, most important one, the Toronto 18, who were planning a series of catastrophic bomb attacks in Canada.
These astonishing allegations seem to stun the crowded courtroom here in Brampton.
What do you think of the charges?
No comment.
No comments.
It was clear that the government sees a new level of threat, requiring a new level of security.
10 more suspects have yet to stand trial, and Shaikh is expected to be a key witness in all of those cases.
I gave testimony resulting in the conviction of 11 aspiring violent extremists. But it came at a cost.
Those young people, they need guidance, and instead of guiding them, he's actually inciting them, and then after that, causing them to be arrested.
To this day, there's still significant elements in the Muslim community that still believe that the Toronto 18 case was a setup, was entrapment. I'm the bad guy.
How did it make you angry?
It did. It made me very angry. Because there was overwhelming evidence against them. Radicalization is a process whereby an individual comes to accept that violence is the way to go, is the way to affect political change. And once you come to believe that, you are an extremist. Now I speak publicly on media and lecture around the world on terrorism and why people join violent extremist groups. I'm doing a PhD on countering violent extremism, CVE, trying to understand, how de-radicalization can happen.
And I'm a family man.
Who's having eggs? Scrambled or?
My wife and I are raising 5 children.
You'll take one? Do you make your wife dress like that? Right? I've heard that before, right? And I was like, no, actually, she wants to dress like that. In fact, I say I would rather she not wear the veil.
When I was young, I went through many phases. So people staring at me, people making comments to me, good or bad, rolls off my back.
What are you gonna do if somebody tells you, hey, screw off, you're a Muslim piece of whatever? Or if you encounter other kids bullying or picking on some other kid because their race, their color, sexual orientation, what do?
Intervene.
You do something?
Yeah.
Do you?
Intervene. The only triumph of evil is when good men do nothing.
We have open conversation on, whatever. Because I want them to know the kind of stuff that I do. And I want them to know the kind of stuff that they're going to face when they go into the world. You know, they engage with this stuff online. And the threat by ISIS is far greater than any other terrorist group previous. They push a grievance narrative, showing Muslim victims of Western bombings. And then they recruit people to the cause, resulting in terrorist acts all over the world. At the same time, there's now blatant Islamophobia in the West.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
More and more people are getting radicalized, the way I was years ago. I used to be one of those guys myself.
And there you are. There is Mubin, reborn. So you remember when you came back from the Pakistan and looked like a Taliban with the big beard, with the torb, and I said to my wife, I said, here we go.
My path towards violent extremism started in Canada with the idea that I wasn't good enough of a Muslim. I had a typical teenage life, I think. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And that just didn't jive with old school, traditionalist, conservative, Indian, Muslim background. I had a house party. My uncle walked in. I got caught. I was made to feel so guilty about what I had done that the only way for me to fix my situation was to, quote unquote, get religious. And in 1995, I would go to India and Pakistan to spend 4 months where I would have a chance encounter with the Taliban.
I only hung out with them for a day or two, but they convinced me the idea for a Muslim is to be a mujahid, is to be a fighter.
The idea was, you have to be an in-your-face Muslim. That was the attitude. Not humble, like this. No, like this.
You young people, you gullible. As soon as you look up to somebody, you wanted to be like them. But most of the young people, as you just turned on and said, whatever they have done, they feel guilty. And because of that feeling guilty makes them into anger. And this damn thing, what we call anger, is the root cause of this radicalization.
Yeah, anger is a major factor. And the ideology tells you how to let out that anger. Oh, do it by killing the kuffar. Do it by blowing yourself up. That's how.
I was lucky. I was able to change my extremist views. Now I'd like to try to prevent other young people from becoming an extremist like I used to be.
I can use my personal experiences, my work experiences, my academic understanding to now actually talk to these young people and talk them out of it if possible. See you, buddy. I'm going to travel to different countries to see what works and what doesn't in countering violent extremism. We can't arrest our way out of it. At the same time, we're not going to ignore the problem. So there does need to be a middle ground, and we need to find it quickly.
Here we are in Washington. If I was still that jihadi guy, I don't think I'd be so welcome in Trump's America.
I operate in-house as the former extremist in residence, as once one of the primary radicalizers and recruiters for Al-Qaeda and promoting Al-Qaeda's narrative in the United States.
We will fight you and destroy you if we have to.
20, 30 people would stop at any given time. Sometimes 1, 2 people would travel with me to the mosque to convert on the spot. I felt powerful. I was drunk on the ideology. Their objective was to induce small, homegrown, violent extremists to act in the United States, and we operated on their behalf. Soon, the organization called Revolution Muslim grew more and more prominent, more and more influential in the jihadi network. We had a very detrimental effect on society. The writers of South Park, the satirical cartoon, had proclaimed that they were going to portray the Prophet Muhammad in an upcoming episode. And the threat that was issued said that the writers of South Park would likely end up dead. That went international within hours. I was charged with communication of threats, conspiracy to solicit murder, and was facing life imprisonment. Through those experiences, I took another step and started to learn to look inside of myself and figure out who I was and who I wanted to be.
Jesse cooperated with the FBI. He got out on parole and got hired here.
Oh, you ready? Yeah. I have an enormous amount of guilt and regret. This is an opportunity for me to make amends to some degree.
But are there programs in prison for extremists like Jesse?
As far as I understand, there is no de-radicalization program in the US. And that is, I think, a particularly problematic dynamic at this point in time, because we are about to see the release of the first wave of people who were convicted for terrorism right after 9/11. And at this point, there's only one choice when the FBI or anybody else in society finds a young person who's radicalizing, and that is basically investigating and arresting. And that is indeed a valid option, but there should be an alternative option, potentially working concurrently with the hard one, which is trying to de-radicalize that individual. And this idea doesn't come from civil liberty organizations, from the softer end of the spectrum. It comes from the professionals in the law enforcement community who understand that they cannot have the entire burden of detecting every case of radicalization and stopping every terrorist attack.
This is really stupid. Far-right extremism is just as great a threat.
Islam hates us. Did you mean all 1.6 billion Muslims?
I mean a lot of them. I mean a lot of them.
A lot of people in power in DC now think that Islam is dangerous and Muslims are pretty much the enemy.
All right. Well, Mr. Gaffney, nice to meet you.
Gaffney wants to record the interview with his own camera to keep us honest.
I take still to heart the oath that I took in government service about defending our Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and have found myself in the years leading up to 9/11 and subsequent to it, mostly contending with the danger that I believe is posed to us by Islamic supremacism.
And we've been discussing with other people on CVE, countering violent extremism. What are your thoughts on that? Like, is it a useful exercise? Is it a complete waste of time?
I think if what you wind up doing is legitimating and underwriting the operations of avowed enemies of your country, it's worse than a waste of time. It is indeed a detriment to your security and enabling a far greater threat even than the one we're facing at the moment.
What do you think about Trump threatening to impose a ban on all Muslims coming into the U.S.?
My view on this so-called Muslim ban is we should not import any more jihadists. I think it's safe to say we already have enough, whatever the number is. It's too many. And the notion that we are going to actually go out and try to bring more people in whom we cannot vet is, again, reckless. It's malfeasance. It's insane.
This new Islamophobic political climate in the US is very tough for anyone trying to do de-radicalization. I'm as much against terrorism as Frank Gaffney, but if you make it seem as though this is a war between the West and Islam, that's exactly what ISIS wants, that split. And that pushes even more Muslims into the arms of extremists. The thing that really made me question my own extremism,
it was 9/11. It was, scenes of planes flying into buildings, buildings crumbling and falling, people fleeing. 9/11 is that major traumatic moment that really made me think, wait a second. It's one thing to be angry, but it's quite something else when you kill innocent people. And I need to make a choice. Is this what I'm about, or is it not what I'm about? I realize I need to study my religion properly. I basically pick up and go to Syria. Got into the university, and one of my teachers was, a young guy, very knowledgeable, and so he just said to me, so where is your mercy? This is the first question he asked. When you're on that bus and you're chest out, chip on the shoulder, ready to go, is this how the Prophet ﷺ, is this how he was? No, he was very merciful and compassionate. There's the verse in the Quran that Muslims always quote. If you take one innocent life, it is as if you've killed all of humankind. And so he de-radicalized me after 2 years of study. I returned back to Canada from Syria in 2004. The first Canadian has been arrested on terrorism charges. He was my friend, and I gave the Canadian Security Intelligence Service a call. I gave them a call to give a character reference for my friend. The agent came to meet me, and he's very simply put to me the prospect, why don't you work for us? Why don't you help us to understand who is a threat to Canadian security and who isn't a threat?
This country has sure seen its share of terrorist attacks. IRA, white supremacists, and of course, Muslim supremacists. This is the site of one of the London terrorist attacks in 2005.
When I was undercover in the Toronto case, the suspects, they referenced the London bombing. And they said that, people might be expecting what they saw in London, but what we have planned is much worse.
The UK has foiled about 50 attacks since then, and it does have a lot more experience in CVE than the US. There's a really large Muslim community in Britain. I mean, my father lived here for years, and many Muslims are really involved in de-radicalization. I'm meeting with some young Muslims in the East End. They're not extremists, but they've been involved in gun crime, and they could be vulnerable to jihadi recruiters.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers. How are you? Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Please.
I actually designed this business from my prison cell whilst I was at High Point Prison. I started to put together a plan to help create social change and to reduce the level of risk that people are facing in the communities.
I've been brought up in an environment where I have been involved in crime. Now, recently I was involved in an incident which could have cost my life, and it's affected me to the point where I thought, I don't care if I go to prison. It's mentally affected me. and there was no one to help me at the time.
I want to just switch it a bit to growing up and seeing racism. The idea that you're hated as a community, as a minority.
We've been around so much racism, I'm actually used to it. I've learned to turn a blind eye to it. But at the same time, obviously, it irritates me. There's only so much someone can take. Being a Muslim does not mean you're a terrorist.
Do you feel that the West is, in many cases, poking the Muslim world?
They're going out of their country to another country and poking at another country. Why are they not branded as terrorists?
If, for example, another country comes to my country for war, comes through my house, tries killing my family, I'll pick up a knife, they shoot me. He's a terrorist. He picked up a knife. No, I am not a terrorist. I defended my son.
Self-defense, right?
It's self-defense. You're coming into my country. You're coming into my house. It's just like a trap, innit? You're in a trap and you can't escape. That's where these radicalizers, they get involved. They use the media. They will say, look at what the media is saying. They're saying you're a terrorist. So they'll bring out the anger in the person.
I mean, what would have happened if you didn't show up here? Without this intervention by this program, where do you think you would be today?
Possibly end up in prison, that's the truth. Innit?
Either dead or in prison.
A lot of these guys who do become jihadis start off where these guys are at right now.
Exactly that. It's a regular pattern. Calculated recruiters who will prey on these service users' vulnerabilities and tap into their individual issues that they have by befriending them. They do tend to prey on those individuals that they can see that are most at risk.
Raheel's program is voluntary, but there is also an official government program to intervene with suspected extremists. Muslims, white supremacists, anybody. It's called Prevent. But Prevent imposed a legal duty to report suspected extremists, and this has had huge pushback from some in the Muslim community.
Prevent is a toxic brand. Prevent is sowing the seeds of discord and mistrust amongst the Muslim community.
Islamist organisations in this country saying things like, if you grow a beard, wear a headscarf, you'll be referred to Prevent. These are absolutely false lies and myths, and all that does is actually weaken.
Peter Neumann is pretty much my mentor on countering violent extremism.
The problem in the UK is that a lot of Prevent programs are being led by the police, are being led by law enforcement.
Is that a good thing?
I think that's a bad thing. And I think that the whole ethos of Prevent is that you're targeting populations that may be vulnerable, but that by definition haven't done anything wrong yet, which unfortunately has created the impression amongst some that Prevent is ultimately about spying on Muslim communities, which by and large it isn't.
You know, what gets people into extremism? What are the pathways? What are the common characteristics that come with it?
People are looking for community, identity, in some cases power and adventure. A very large percentage of ISIS recruits in Europe, in some countries up to 50%, have previously been involved in gangs. And they're basically doing the same thing, only now they are doing it for what they think is a good purpose, because it makes them go to heaven.
I was just talking to some young Muslims in the East End, and they deal with a lot of Islamophobia. How much harder does this make our work?
It makes it incredibly difficult because, of course, what the extremists are saying to young people is that however hard you try, Western society will never accept you because you're a Muslim. And these guys are actually confirming that narrative. And the idea that we want to promote in prevention work is that there is no conflict between being a Muslim and being a Canadian. That's what you want to promote, not this idea of choosing between one and the other.
For years, I did feel I had to choose, and it's only after a lot of struggle that I now feel I am both Canadian and Muslim. I managed to get a critic of the Prevent program to agree to an interview, but as soon as he found out that I was the undercover on the Toronto 18 case, he backs out. It's the same old bullshit. The intelligence services sent me to infiltrate a group that they suspected were engaging in terrorism offenses. I got the evidence, they got convicted in court, but some people in the Muslim community say I set them up, that it was entrapment. But they had already decided they were going to have a training camp. They had their own guns.
I mean, they built a bomb detonator themselves. They had money. They had a plan.
These guys were gonna blow up targets in downtown Toronto, storm the Parliament building, and go and behead the Prime Minister.
All of this was before I was sent in to stop the group. Tell me how entrapment is possible. Tell me how I set them up. Even to this day, I still get it. You're a sellout, you're a traitor, you're a munafiq, you're a hypocrite. You were a spy.
Germany. I've come here to see if they do things differently than the UK. There have been some horrible terrorist attacks here as well, and some people are scared it's going to get worse because the country took in about 1 million refugees. And so there have been attacks on those refugees, about 10 attacks a day.
Ein Jahr lang im Gefängnis in Nürnberg, und im Gefängnis hat dann sozusagen mein Wandel stattgefunden, dass ich dann die Ideologie, die dschihadistische Ideologie dann in Frage gestellt habe. Und man merkt, dass es sehr viel persönliche Sachen sind, wo dann sozusagen der Dschihadismus, die Ideologie, nur dafür benutzt wird, um das sozusagen dann auch auszuleben. Und dann bin ich sozusagen zum Schein wieder zurückgekehrt, habe mich in der Dschihadistenszene bewegt und habe aber sozusagen undercover für den Verfassungsschutz gearbeitet, Informationen gesammelt und so weiter. Es ging um Ausreisen, Spenden, geplante Terroranschläge.
Mubin, like, this is the first time we've met somebody who's really like you.
Yeah.
I'd just like to,
Well, it's very similar. Working for the government because you want to do the right thing. And then everyone comes out against you. The citizens of your country still don't trust you. And your own community, they don't trust you. So you're alone. You feel you're by yourself.
Also ich denke auch, diese Rolle, die ich habe, ist eine sehr undankbare Rolle. Aber jemand muss diese Rolle spielen. Das Schicksal wollte es, so denke ich. Und ja, da kann man nichts machen.
Irfan reminds me of the hard approach, and police work is essential, and they do a lot of that in Germany. This morning, a mosque in Berlin was raided and shut down, and I mean, it was the mosque attended by the terrorists who drove a truck into a Christmas market, killing 12 people. But the Germans do a lot of prevention too, and unlike in the UK, most of the de-radicalization work in Germany is done by non-governmental organizations instead of the state.
We started in 2001 with right-wing extremism. There were a lot of neo-Nazis in prison, but nobody did anything with them. They were just imprisoned, and when they got out, they restarted the same life they had before.
Because that's the only thing they know.
Exactly. Right. So we said, no, we have to work with them when they're in there. So we started with these group trainings.
Erzähl mal von der Fortschreibung.
Ja, so ganz gut. Arbeit, Bewertung auch top. Ja. Ich muss jetzt noch meine Suchtberatung machen. Ja. Bis April und dann, wenn ich Glück habe, Ende April, Anfang Mai freigehen.
And then we have another prison situation which is quite new because of all the returnees we have in Germany. So when they come back, they get imprisoned immediately.
You're talking about the returnees from Syria who were with ISIS or Al-Qaeda or one of those.
Exactly. And so with them, we would do a one-on-one training because you can't integrate them into groups. these people would influence others in prisons. So we have to work with them and to really prevent them from doing more harm.
Are there similarities between neo-Nazis and Muslim supremacists?
Well, we have similarities on different levels. Like, we have the family background, which might be a dysfunctional family, violence. But then we also have, you want to join a historical mission, which is the same in both target groups, you know.
To belong to a greater cause.
Exactly, which is, the one is the Fourth Reich, and the other is the building up the Islamic State. And also these black and white. There's no gray in it.
Right.
And we have answers to everything, but it's always black and white. And and stop thinking.
Right, we will tell you what to think.
We will take over.
How does VPN, Violence Prevention Network, build trust between individuals?
We have observed that sometimes we are the first in the life of these young people who are listening to their story. We would accept them as a person and condemn the deed. We are non-humiliating. And we look at your biography, so you can understand why you did this.
When it comes to prevention and intervention, how do you even begin to measure success in both these areas?
We can track how many of our clients have come back to prison. So there's a reincarceration rate, which is 68% lower than the average reincarceration rate. So there's a proof, you know, that it works.
Of course, even one terrorist attack is one too many. This is the site of the Christmas market massacre. Despite these tragedies, Germany has had a lot of success with de-radicalization. There are a few countries like Denmark or the Netherlands that have similar programs with young people at risk, helping them to get jobs, education, reintegration. France has done things a bit differently. This country has seen some of the most dramatic terror attacks in the West. Charlie Hebdo, the Bataclan theater siege, Nice, and other nightmares. And in reaction, yeah, there's open anti-Muslim politics, just like in the USA, or maybe even more.
If you compare France to Germany, it's very interesting. The totalitarian Nazi experiences in Germany said, we don't want this overwhelming state. We want also to have a strong civil society as a counterbalance to the state. France is a very central state, a pyramidical central state. The state somehow still believes that it can, for instance, in the fight, in the measures for preventing jihadism, play the major role, which it can't. There were some really, what I believe are misguided efforts, like what an American newspaper called Guantanamo sur Loire. What they were trying to do is like some kind of jihadi boot camp where radicalized young people would somehow go on a voluntary basis, but then wear a uniform, salute the flag, and they would be collectively reintegrated in French society. We always believed that this wouldn't work because you need to help those people individually. You can't put them in a group situation where one charismatic leader could radicalize everybody. And this camp has no inmate anymore because some of the last two inmates, one wanted to go to Syria and the other one was arrested for former offenses. And there were never enough volunteers anyway, and the whole system doesn't work.
So I want to ask you about the suburbs. Riots, alienation?
The French Prime Minister called it himself an apartheid, a two-class society where people of immigrant background in suburbs are excluded from France, don't feel really French.
Some of the Bataclan theater and Charlie Hebdo killers came from the Paris suburbs, and I'm gonna go see how the people there feel about the attacks and the response by the state. about the
prison.
The prison,
Yes.
the prison program.
When
something like Charlie Hebdo and Bataclan attacks, terrorist attacks happen, how does it affect the community?
Ça rejaillit forcément sur le quartier. Il y a des gens qui regardent après les musulmans en chien de faïence, qui pensent que cette personne-là est en train de préparer quelque chose, ou alors que cette personne-là n'est pas intégrée, ou que cette personne-là n'a pas sa place dans la société française. Et y compris les hommes et les femmes politiques, ils ont parfois beaucoup de discours qui divisent et pas de discours qui rassemblent. Et les terroristes, leur objectif, c'est de désolidariser les uns des autres. Et plus on sera fort et moins on fera d'amalgame, et plus on les dominera. Et je pense qu'on n'est pas, en tout cas actuellement, qu'on n'arrive pas à procéder de cette manière-là.
What are the main challenges faced by the youth in this particular area?
Quand on vient de banlieue, on a 20 fois moins de chances d'obtenir un emploi. Je discutais avec un jeune qui a envoyé 300 CV. Il s'appelait Mohammad. Il n'a jamais eu aucune réponse. Aucune. Et en fait, ce qu'il a fait, c'est qu'il a laissé son CV, il a mis Fabien, habitant de Paris, et il a eu beaucoup d'entretiens. Et c'est une certaine forme de discrimination territoriale et une discrimination aussi malheureusement liée à l'origine ethnique et sociale.
Fouad introduces us to some of the young people he mentors here in Bandi.
Il y a les banlieues et il y a Paris. Alors vraiment, dans les banlieues, on vit quelque chose qu'il n'y a que nous qui pouvons comprendre et l'expliquer. Il y a quand même un fossé, on va dire. Nous, on est dans un côté de la France et il y a d'autres côtés de la France aussi. C'est ce que je pourrais dire.
Moi, je dirais que le décalage, en fait, il vient vraiment de Paris et de la société et des a priori qu'ils ont sur nous. When we come in Paris, all people, they're scared. What will he do? Maybe my phone, he will steal my phone. Maybe he will kick my son or kick my... No! We are visiting our city.
À la longue, c'est compliqué. Il y en a qui n'ont pas cette réflexion-là et qui s'arrêtent tout de suite à la barrière et qui, au final, se transforment en je sais pas, en radicaliste religieux ou en braqueur, etc.
So a lot of people suffer because of the crimes of a few. In 2015, 89 people were brutally murdered at a rock concert at the Bataclan Theater. One of them was Hugo Sarrade. This is his father.
So Hugo was a student in computer science in Montpellier University. He planned to come to Paris and to spend the weekend with me. He arrived on Friday afternoon. He went directly to the Bataclan. And when I did arrive at home, roughly about 9 p.m., I received a phone call from one of his best friends. And he said, okay, Stéphane, something happened in Bataclan. Do you have news from Hugo? We started to wait information, where he was and so on. And then we had the information that Hugo was killed. A kind of new life started at this moment. We had a special connection together. He was my best friend. You understand what I mean? So we have this very magical situation. I lose my best friend. You know, I am a scientist. My job is to find sense. And for the first time of my life, I was facing a kind of chaos with no sense. And in order to build myself again, I started to understand first and to try to be more concerned.
What do you think motivates these people to do what they do?
In their own economical situation, social situation, they are nothing. Right. They doesn't exist. And then they meet people, and these people say, okay, come with me, and you will be someone. You will have a gun. You will obtain respect. Young guys at 20 years old can be fragile. I was fragile, Hugo was fragile, okay? And some guys use this fragility to convert and to go on that. And I want to explain that can happen to everyone. If I am down, if I am in my bed and I say, okay, no ways. If I do that, ISIS win. And that's a promise I made to my son, say, they will never win. So I try to be on my 2 feet for him, for me, for my family. I will try to go further on that. And to explain that parents who have a son in Syria are not guilty as a bad parents. That's not reality. That's much more complicated than that.
Okay. This picture was made during the last summer. So it was the last picture of him. So I like this picture because he was happy.
They will never win, okay? Never.
So we're back in Toronto. My own dad counsels young people who are in trouble with the law, Muslim kids, non-Muslim kids, so I'm visiting him here, where he works.
Okay, go ahead.
But we started talking about the past. My dad only found out I was the Toronto 18 undercover when he saw me on TV.
Good evening. We begin with a CBC News exclusive, one that gives a rare and detailed view inside that alleged plot to blow up targets in Canada.
Mubin Shaikh, the Toronto man who infiltrated an alleged terror cell. This week, he spoke publicly about his 2-year undercover assignment for the first time.
I remember I was alone in the basement, watching the television. When I saw you, oh God, I cried, honestly.
In a bad way, though. You felt bad.
I said, what the heck this idiot has done? The first thing I received is the phone call from my community saying that, did you see what he did?
The community saw my involvement as an undercover as the bad thing. Not that there were Muslim youth plotting terrorism. That was not the bad thing, correct?
Everybody believes that, their kids are not into this nonsense. Yeah. So what do you expect the community to give you? Hug you? You are still...
Oh, it bothers me very much.
Yes, it does bother you. And
how can I go on camera and try to convince people Muslims are against terrorism? And then I'm the guy who's countering the terrorism, but I'm the one that's kicked out of the community.
You think that he was right to go undercover to bust them, but he should not have gone on television and gone public ever.
Absolutely. He should not have identified himself.
Usually what happens is a guy like me would go into witness protection. But I didn't do that. If I had not exposed my identity, the government was going to control the narrative regarding terrorism in Canada and Muslims. Because of me going public, what I did was I actually took a little bit of control of that narrative. What? So I want to move to what's happened since, because...
Well, let me tell you the last thing. I had to say it.
All right.
No. A community, yes, they acknowledged it. Some of them, they
didn't acknowledge it.
Excuse me.
Don't say they did. They didn't.
Excuse me.
Okay.
This is the way we are. At the end of the day, we all have to admit things came out very well for Canada. Thanks God. And thanks to
I thank me too, though. I'm going to give my own self a pat because nobody else gave me the pat.
Move on, son. Forget about the community.
I have forgotten.
Whatever happened, it happened.
I have forgotten.
But you keep saying, I think, you have to admit now, move on, do good. When you will do good,
of course, good will come.
Good will definitely come.
On the last leg of my journey, we've come to Calgary. There was a lot of shock a few years ago when a handful of young Muslim men went off to Syria to join ISIS. Most of them were killed. I'm trying to meet with a guy who went to the same mosque as them. But before I can, something unexpected happens.
Thousands across the country protest President Trump's travel ban on 7 Muslim-majority nations.
We're going to have a very, very strict ban, and we're going to have extreme vetting, which we should have had in this country for many years.
President Trump banned people from 7 Muslim countries. It's a crazy thing to do, and it won't do anything to stop terrorism. In fact, it alienates Muslims, it confirms ISIS propaganda, and it increases the threat.
Why would anyone want to help the U.S. now? That's a question. That's a real question.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
The guy who was connected to the men who went to fight with ISIS agrees to meet me. He tried to travel to Iraq. He says for a job and family, but his passport was taken away. He's in the local de-radicalization program, but the police remain suspicious.
I've been under investigation since December 10, 2014. The police came to my house. They had asked me if I had seen individuals like Farah Shirdon.
Did you know him?
We went to the same mosque. To them, I'm just guilty by association. The RCMP came to the universities, to mosques, to my workplace, to my family, friends, and started asking individuals about me. And then that is when the rumors started to happen. Certain individuals from the community were spreading that I was a police informant. So I received death threats, And on the other hand, the RCMP were under the impression I was a terrorist. I lost 4 jobs within 6 months. I spent 8 months homeless, living in my vehicle. I couldn't maintain a job. I couldn't pay for university, so I dropped out. My views, differ greatly from other people, yes. Does that make me a radical? I'll leave it up to, people to decide. The Americans, carpet bombed so-and-so and kill our civilians, what makes us different than them? I see it wrong to attack civilians in every country. I really don't sleep at night. It's more of a fear of what they have attempted to label me with, a fear of them raiding my house again, a fear of being brutalized.
All right, let's think about some strategies, like what things we can do. So number 1, if there are people in your circle that talk in a certain way that you feel are trying to kind of push you towards action, you need to stay away from those people. Don't engage them, be very wary. Be very, very careful with that stuff. And stick with your DRAD program. I don't think he's a danger. I mean, if he stays connected with people here who can help him, but you can see why the police might be worried.
Police closed off the area surrounding the Quebec City Islamic Cultural Centre as armed officers entered the mosque.
Looks like an anti-Muslim white supremacist went into a mosque in Quebec, shot Muslims in the back as they prayed, killing 6 people and injuring many more. And this came 2 days after Trump's Muslim travel ban. I'm really glad to be heading home.
No.
No. We haven't been to the mosque for a while as a family. I was a little nervous. I know that mosque. The last time I was there was when I was operational. The families of some of the suspects live nearby and attend the mosque. For me to go back there, it's almost revisiting and stepping back into that time. Despite everything that's happened, I'm still a Muslim. I'm still a part of this community. I've learned that de-radicalization is an art. Because you're dealing with vulnerable young people, you have to be very, very careful.
Muslim supremacists, white supremacists, they come from the same society that we live in. They are our neighbors. They are our friends. They are the children of our friends. When it comes to those who are involved in criminal activities, you do have to go after them hard. But that's dealing with a problem after it's already occurred. And what we really need to focus on now is prevention. You're not gonna save everybody, but doing nothing is not an option. I'm meeting again with Jamal, the ISIS defector.
You know, after we met, you were having some stress. Where are you at now in your head?
I improved generally, but then like I'd be in a normal state of mind doing my daily chores, and then all of a sudden I'd freeze and start thinking and go deep, and that's what also triggered the emotions again, making me feel like I'm back in that time. The numbness and like kind of like wishing I had the time before I left back, and I could come back into that time. I'd give anything for that, to get my childhood back.
Are you fearful that you might be arrested?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't want.
Well, I mean, stay in touch, and God forbid, na'udhu billah, if it does go down that route, I'll be there, no problem.